Chuck Norris?
I mean, Chuck is in his mid-70s. He's probably 76 years old, okay? 75, 76 years old.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I've heard that he's not, you know.
Chuck Norris is gone forever. On March 19th, 2026 in Hawaii, my beloved husband passed away at the age of 86 after a sudden medical emergency. He left this world peacefully, surrounded by his family. But right before he took his last breath, he looked me in the eyes and whispered, "Gena, if anything happens to me, tell them the truth." Today, I'm keeping that promise to him. I'm finally revealing the 5 male actors who hated Chuck Norris the most in Hollywood, along with the explosive secrets and real rivalries behind them. Exactly what the internet and Hollywood insiders have been whispering about for decades. These aren't just rumors. These are the actual conflicts from his legendary career. If you love raw Hollywood truth and shocking revelations, hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and join the Legendary Secrets family. Let's dive in. 1. Steven Seagal, the #1 martial arts enemy. 3 weeks have passed since my husband, Chuck Norris, left this world forever on March 19th, 2026 in Hawaii. Before he passed, he looked me in the eyes with his last bit of strength and whispered, "Gena, if I'm gone, tell them the truth." So today I'm keeping that promise. Let me paint the picture for you, because this rivalry was never just tabloid talk. It was raw, personal, and it started long before the cameras rolled. Go back to November 1968, Madison Square Garden, New York City. The arena is packed with over 15,000 screaming fans. The lights are blinding white. Cigarette smoke hangs thick in the air. A young, rock-solid Chuck Norris, sweat pouring down his chest, steps into the center of the ring for the finals of the All-American Karate Championship. His opponent is the feared Joe Louis, one of the most dangerous fighters alive at the time. The bell rings. You can hear every slap of bare feet on the mat. Chuck explodes forward with lightning-fast kicks and precision punches. In one of the most legendary moments in karate history, he defeats Joe Louis and is crowned the very first world middleweight karate champion. That single night launched a 6-year undefeated reign, 183 wins, 10 losses, 2 draws in full-contact bare-knuckle karate. Chuck wasn't acting, he was the real thing. Now fast forward 20 years to the late 1980s. Steven Seagal explodes onto Hollywood like a storm. His debut film, Above the Law, hits theaters in 1988, and suddenly this tall guy with the ponytail is on every magazine cover, every late-night show, bragging that his Aikido is unbeatable, that no man in America can touch him in a real fight. He walks around with that cold stare, calling himself the only authentic martial artist in town. Chuck, who had always been brutally honest about the martial arts world, didn't stay quiet. In a now infamous interview that rocked the entire industry toward the end of the 1980s, Chuck looked straight into the camera, calm as ever, and dropped the words that lit the fuse. Steven Seagal, he's a wannabe. The wannabes are the ones with the biggest attitude. His tough guy image on screen is all camera tricks, quick cuts, and editing. In real life, it's a different story. Those 10 seconds changed everything. I remember the exact day Chuck came home after that interview. We were sitting in our kitchen in California. He shrugged and said, "I just called it like I see it, honey." But across town, Steven Seagal was losing his mind. People who were on set with him that week told me he threw a chair across his trailer, slammed his fist on the table, and screamed that he was going to prove once and for all who the real fighter was. The rumors spread like wildfire through Hollywood. Seagal was openly demanding a real, no-rules fight with Chuck Norris. Not in a movie, but in real life. The tension hit boiling point in 1989 and 1990. Martial arts insiders started talking about a proposed $1 million fight challenge. 12 of the top masters in the country were reportedly ready to put up $1 million in prize money for SEAGAL to step into the ring against any of them under full contact rules. Chuck's name was at the very top of that list. Witnesses said SEAGAL responded with pure rage, using language in private conversations that sounded like fight to the death. Some people close to both men even claim SEAGAL sent indirect threats through mutual friends. Messages like, "Tell Norris he's too old and weak to protect anyone anymore." The closest the two ever came to a face-to-face showdown happened at a private Hollywood industry party in the early 1990s. Picture this scene: a dimly lit ballroom in Beverly Hills, crystal chandeliers, celebrities laughing and drinking. Then the temperature drops. Chuck walks in one door, SEAGAL walks in the other. The entire room goes dead silent. People froze mid-conversation. SEAGAL stared daggers across the crowd, eyes locked on my husband. Chuck just gave that calm, signature half-smile of his and nodded once. No words were spoken out loud, but everyone in that ballroom felt the electricity. It was like two lions sizing each other up, one who had actually fought in the ring and one who built his legend on screen. Chuck never wanted violence. He always told me, "Real fighters don't need to prove anything on the street, Gena." He refused to escalate it. He just kept making his movies, teaching real values and living with honor. But Steven Seagal? From everything I've seen and heard over the past 30+ years, he never forgave Chuck for publicly calling out the one thing he couldn't stand: the truth about his image. Even decades later, that resentment never died. That's the real story I promised my husband I would finally tell. Steven Seagal wasn't just jealous of Chuck's success. He carried a deep personal grudge because Chuck refused to play the Hollywood game and spoke the truth out loud. And now with Chuck gone, I think the world deserves to know exactly how it all went down. 2. Jean-Claude Van Damme, the old friend who betrayed him. Chuck kept so many secrets to himself, but there was one name that always hurt him more than the others, because it came from someone he once helped from nothing. Let me paint the full picture for you, exactly the way my husband lived it. Go back to the late 1960s and early 1970s. Chuck wasn't just the undefeated karate champion anymore. He was building something bigger. He opened a chain of karate schools across Southern California: Torrance, Redondo Beach, and the flagship studio in Sherman Oaks. The dojos were always packed. Hollywood's biggest stars walked through those doors looking for real discipline, not just movie moves. Steve McQueen, the king of cool, trained with Chuck for years and became one of his closest friends. Priscilla Presley, still married to Elvis at the time, would drive to the Sherman Oaks studio almost every week. Her ballet background made her high kicks look effortless. Chuck always spoke so fondly about those days, teaching legends how to fight while building something real and lasting. Now fast forward to the early 1980s. It's a cool spring night in 1981, Newport Beach, California. The ocean breeze carries the smell of salt and fried food. The parking lot outside Woody's Wharf is full of muscle cars and motorcycles. Woody's Wharf was Chuck's own waterfront bar. Wooden floors, dim lights, live music, and sometimes pretty rowdy crowds on weekends. One night, a skinny 21-year-old Belgian kid with almost no money, a thick accent, and big dreams shows up at the door. His name was Jean-Claude Van Damme. He had just arrived in America from Belgium, sleeping on friends' couches, eating whatever he could scrape together, and chasing the Hollywood dream. Through a mutual friend in the martial arts world, Van Damme was introduced to Chuck. My husband, being the generous man he always was, looked at this hungry kid and gave him a job right there on the spot: bouncer at Woody's Wharf. Picture the scene: late nights, loud rock music, drunk customers getting aggressive. Young Jean-Claude standing at the entrance in a tight black t-shirt, checking IDs, breaking up fights, and trying to prove he belonged. Chuck paid him around $250 a week. Not much, but it was steady money and a place to belong when he had nowhere else. More importantly, Chuck invited him to train at his karate school for free. They sparred together on the mats. Chuck taught him American-style karate, timing, and focus. After training sessions, they would hug like father and son. Chuck would come home and tell me, "That Belgian kid has real talent, Gena, but he's wild. He needs discipline." For a couple of years, it was a true mentor-student bond. Chuck even gave Van Damme his very first acting role, a small part in the 1984 film Missing in Action. Chuck genuinely wanted to lift him up. But everything changed when stardom hit. 1988, Bloodsport explodes in theaters, and suddenly Jean-Claude Van Damme is the new king of action movies. Kickboxer follows right after. The splits, the 360-degree kicks, the magazine covers. The same guy who once checked IDs outside Chuck's bar was now a global superstar. As Van Damme's fame grew, the respect quietly disappeared. Chuck, who had always been brutally honest, started speaking privately about how the new action stars lack the old school of discipline. In interviews during the late 80s and early 90s, when asked about the new wave, Chuck said Van Damme had raw talent but no real discipline, that he relied too much on choreography and flash instead of true fighting spirit. Those words got back to Van Damme. The tension boiled over in the 2010s. During the casting and filming of the Expendables franchise, Hollywood insiders whispered about heated phone calls and bruised egos. Van Damme was cast as the villain in the Expendables 2, 2012, while Chuck had a memorable cameo in the same film. People on set said Van Damme would make snide remarks behind Chuck's back. One comment that especially hurt and got repeated to us was Van Damme saying, "Chuck Norris, he was just lucky. Right place, right time. I had to fight for everything I got." Those words cut deep because Chuck had literally given him a job, a paycheck, training, and his first movie credit when no one else in Hollywood would even look at him. I'll never forget one industry event in the mid-2000s. The ballroom was packed with action stars, cameras flashing, champagne flowing. Chuck and Jean-Claude spotted each other across the room. For a moment, they walked toward each other and hugged like the old days, the veteran champion and the kid he once helped. Chuck smiled warmly and said something kind, but after that night, the phone call stopped. The warm moments turned cold. The respect turned into quiet jealousy. Chuck never went public with any attack. He stayed classy until the very end, but I lived with him every day. I saw the quiet disappointment in his eyes whenever Van Damme's name came up. He felt betrayed, not by a stranger, but by someone he had opened his doors to when the kid had nothing. Jean-Claude went from the hungry bouncer Chuck gave a real chance to one of the men who turned on him once the spotlight got too bright. That kind of personal betrayal hurt Chuck more than any public feud ever could, because it wasn't just Hollywood rivalry, it was personal. And now that my husband is gone, I promised him I would finally tell these stories exactly the way they happened. 3. Sylvester Stallone, the battle for the throne of action kings. Some rivalries in Hollywood burned quietly for decades, and this one burned hotter than most people ever knew, because it wasn't just about movies. It was about who truly deserved to wear the crown as the king of action. Let me take you back and paint the exact scenes my husband lived through. It's November 16th, 1984. The red carpet is rolled out in front of the Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. Floodlights cut through the cool evening fog rolling in off the Pacific. Chuck steps out of a black limousine wearing a simple black tuxedo, no flashy jewelry, just that calm, confident smile. Missing in Action had just opened nationwide the day before, a low-budget Canon Films picture shot in the brutal heat of the Philippines and Mexico. Chuck did almost every stunt himself, jumping from helicopters, hand-to-hand combat in the jungle, breaking reel boards with his bare hands. The film grossed over $22 million on a $2 million budget and became a massive independent hit. Veterans and everyday American audiences were lining up around the block. Chuck was suddenly the new everyman hero, the guy who looked like he could actually win a real fight. Just 6 months later, In May 1985, Sylvester Stallone's Rambo: First Blood Part 2 exploded into theaters. The two films were fighting for the exact same audience. Box office charts that summer showed them neck and neck week after week. Stallone was already the established king with the Rocky franchise. Suddenly, this karate champion from Texas was stealing his thunder without million-dollar budgets or studio backing. Insiders told me Stallone was furious. At a private wrap party for Rocky IV in December 1985, inside a sprawling Malibu beach house, Stallone reportedly pulled a couple of producers aside near the bar, scotch in hand, and growled, "That Norris guy is everywhere. He's turning into the new all-American poster boy, and it's hurting my numbers." Those words traveled fast through Hollywood circles. The tension stayed buried for years, but it never went away. Fast forward to 2009 and 2010. Stallone is assembling the ultimate action star dream team for The Expendables. Chuck's phone rang several times. Early casting meetings in Stallone's office in Santa Monica were intense. Whiteboards covered with actor names, giant photos of explosions on the walls. Chuck's name was at the top of the wish list for many producers because his international fan base was still enormous. But according to people who were in those closed-door sessions, Stallone shut it down hard. He allegedly slammed his fist on the table and said, "We don't need Chuck. He'll walk in and every scene will become about him. This is my movie. I'm not letting anyone overshadow the team." The rejection was quiet but crystal clear. Chuck was eventually given only a small, late-added cameo in The Expendables 2 in 2012, not because Stallone truly wanted him, but because the studio and fan pressure forced it. On set in Bulgaria that summer, the atmosphere was icy. Chuck told me later that during one lunch break in the catering tent, Stallone barely made eye contact. When they finally filmed their short scene together, the handshake felt more like two boxers touching gloves before a fight than two old colleagues. Then came 2016, and the tension turned personal. In July of that year, Chuck went public with his full-throated support for Donald Trump at the Republican National Convention and in multiple interviews. He stood on stages, waved the flag, and spoke from the heart about patriotism and American values. Stallone, on the other hand, stayed mostly silent and cautious. According to mutual friends, after one high-profile Hollywood fundraiser in Beverly Hills in late 2016, Stallone was overheard in a private corner saying, "Chuck's playing the all-American hero, both on-screen and off-screen now. It's getting old." That comment got back to us within days. Chuck never responded publicly, but I saw the hurt in his eyes when he read the report. It wasn't just politics. It was Stallone's way of saying Chuck's authenticity made everyone else look calculated. Chuck stayed classy until the very end. He always told me, "Sly built an empire. I respect that." But the truth I lived with for decades was different. Sylvester Stallone could never fully forgive my husband for being too loved by the regular people, the veterans, the working-class dads, the kids who grew up watching Walker, Texas Ranger every Saturday night. Chuck didn't need fancy Hollywood parties or political games to stay on top. His fame came from real toughness and real values, and that pure, undeniable connection with everyday America seemed to eat at Stallone more than any box office number ever could. Even after they worked together on The Expendables 2, the coldness never thawed. Chuck never held grudges, but he knew the score. Sly had built his throne, and he wasn't about to share it. That's the real, never-told story behind one of Hollywood's longest-running silent wars. And now that my husband is gone, I promised him I would finally speak it out loud. 4. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the silent enemy. Some Hollywood wars are loud and public. This one was deadly quiet, the kind of rivalry that happens behind closed doors, in private phone calls, and in the shadows of million-dollar sets. And it cut deeper than any fistfight because Arnold Schwarzenegger never let the world see how much Chuck Norris haunted him. Let me take you inside the exact moments my husband lived through. It's the summer of 1979. Los Angeles is baking under a record heat wave. Chuck has just wrapped A Force of One, a gritty karate revenge picture that surprised everyone by pulling in $20 million on a tiny budget. Suddenly, the studios are calling him the next big American action hero. At the same time across town, a massive Austrian bodybuilder named Arnold Schwarzenegger is shooting Conan the Barbarian in Spain. The film won't hit theaters until 1982, but the buzz is already insane. Arnold is everywhere, pumping iron on magazine covers, doing talk shows in that thick accent, promising to bring a new level of muscle to the screen. Chuck and Arnold first crossed paths at a private industry screening in Beverly Hills in late 1981. Picture this. The lights are low in the plush theater on Wilshire Boulevard. 200 of Hollywood's most powerful people are in the room. Producers, agents, studio heads. Chuck is sitting in the third row with me beside him. Arnold walks in late, wearing a black leather jacket, his arms looking like they could crush steel. When the lights come up after the screening, the two men lock eyes across the aisle. Arnold gives a big public smile and a firm handshake for the cameras. "Chuck Norris, the real deal," he booms. Everyone claps. But later that same night in the back hallway near the restrooms where no one could hear, Arnold pulled aside his longtime producer and said something that would echo for years. "That Chuck Norris, he's the reason I train like a madman every single day. I have to be bigger, stronger, faster. He's the only American who actually looks like he could beat me in a real fight." The producer later repeated those exact words to a mutual friend who told Chuck. My husband just chuckled and said, "Tell Arnold I'm flattered," but I saw the quiet respect in his eyes and the warning. By 1984, the competition turned into a full-blown silent war. Arnold's The Terminator opened in October and became a phenomenon. Chuck's Missing in Action dropped just weeks later and dominated the box office among working-class audiences. For the next 2 years, every weekend felt like a battle. One weekend, Arnold's Commando would crush it. The next, Chuck's Invasion USA would hit #1. Studio executives were literally pitting them against each other in marketing meetings. I remember Chuck coming home one night in early 1985 after a meeting at Canon Films and telling me, "They want me to go bigger, meaner, basically copy what Arnold is doing. But I'm not Arnold, I'm me." The real knife in the back came in the early 1990s. It's March 1992. A secret development meeting is happening on the top floor of the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank. The project is a huge $60 million action thriller. Think True Lies meets The Rock. Chuck's name is on the short list for the lead. He's 52 years old, but still in incredible shape, and his international fan base is massive. The room is packed, studio executives in suits, the hot young director, and Arnold himself, who has been brought in as a producer consultant because of his star power. According to 3 different people who were in that room and later spoke to us off the record, the moment Chuck's name came up, Arnold leaned forward, smiled that famous smile, and said calmly, "Chuck is a legend, but let's be honest, his body type doesn't fit the new standard. The audience wants someone bigger now. I think we should go younger and more imposing." Then he added the line that still stings. "Besides, I don't need the competition on my own set." The room went quiet. Chuck was quietly removed from the project within 48 hours. The role eventually went to someone else. Chuck never got the official call. He heard about it through his agent the next week while we were having breakfast in our kitchen. He just stared at his coffee for a long time and said softly, "Arnold doesn't want anyone standing next to him who might steal the spotlight." That wasn't the only time. Throughout the 1990s, Arnold was rumored to have blocked Chuck from at least 2 other major studio pictures. One in 1994 and another in 1997, always with the same quiet excuse: "We need someone who matches the new action standard." Publicly, Arnold always praised Chuck in interviews. Great guy, real martial artist. Privately, he made sure the 2 of them would never share the same stage as equals. I watched my husband carry that quiet disappointment for decades. He never spoke badly about Arnold in public. That wasn't his way. But I lived with him. I saw how he pushed himself harder in the gym after every one of those rejections, as if proving a point only the two of them understood. Arnold respected Chuck publicly, shook his hand for the cameras, posed for photos, but behind the scenes he never wanted anyone, especially not an American karate champion who looked like a regular guy who could actually fight, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. That silent jealousy, that fear of being compared, is what made Arnold the most dangerous rival of all, because it was never loud. It was calculated. It was cold. And now that my husband is gone forever, I promised him I would finally tell the world the truth about the man who smiled in public and moved mountains in private to make sure no one ever stood as tall as he did. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't just want to be the biggest star, he wanted to be the only one. 5. Bruce Lee. Out of all the names I've shared with you tonight, this one still breaks my heart the most, because it wasn't just a Hollywood rivalry. It was the story of two legends who should have been brothers, but one of them never truly opened his heart. Let me take you back to the very beginning, exactly as Chuck lived it. It's the spring of 1968. Madison Square Garden in New York City is electric. The All-American Karate Championships are underway, and the arena is packed with thousands of roaring fans. My husband, still the undefeated world middleweight karate champion, is standing ringside when a young lightning-fast fighter from Hong Kong steps onto the demonstration floor. His name is Bruce Lee. He's only 27 years old, but the way he moves, those blinding kicks, that explosive energy, stops the entire building cold. After the event, Bruce walks straight up to Chuck in the hallway backstage. The two men shake hands, lock eyes, and something clicks. Bruce looks at Chuck and says, "You're the real deal. I want to train with you." From that moment, they became workout partners in Los Angeles. They sparred for hours in Chuck's backyard dojo, pushing each other to the limit. Chuck always spoke of Bruce with pure admiration. He was a genius. He changed martial arts forever. In March 1972, the phone rang at our house in California. It was Bruce himself. "Chuck, my friend," he said in that unmistakable voice, "I'm directing my own movie in Rome and Hong Kong. I need you in the final fight scene. 2 gladiators in the Colosseum. No one else can do this with me." Chuck was honored. He flew to Rome immediately. The entire crew knew they were about to film something historic. Now picture this scene. It still gives me chills. May 1972, the actual Roman Colosseum at dusk. The ancient stone arches loom overhead like silent witnesses. The Hong Kong crew had bribed local guards to shoot illegally after official permission fell through. Just a handful of people, dim lights, and 2 of the greatest martial artists alive facing each other under the same sky, where gladiators once fought to the death. Bruce playing Tang Lung versus Chuck as Colt, the ruthless American fighter. They choreographed the entire 45-hour sequence themselves. No stunt doubles, no wires, no music in the final cut. Every punch, every kick was real technique. Chuck told me later that during one take, Bruce accidentally cracked 2 of his ribs, but Chuck just smiled through the pain and said, "Keep rolling." The fight ends with Bruce victorious, Colt lying broken on the cold stone floor. The crew cheered like they had just witnessed history. But behind the cameras, the atmosphere was ice cold. According to people who were on set that week and who later confided in us, Bruce was a perfectionist bordering on obsession. He would stop filming for hours to adjust one single movement. And in private conversations during lunch breaks under the Colosseum shadows, Bruce reportedly told close friends and crew members something that would haunt Chuck for the rest of his life. He allegedly said, "Chuck is good, but he has nothing original. He copies my style, my speed, my philosophy. He's a strong fighter, yes, but without Bruce Lee, there is no Chuck Norris, the movie star." Those words spread quietly through martial arts circles in the months after filming. Bruce never said them publicly, but the rumor burned like acid. The man Chuck idolized, the man who had invited him into his biggest film, secretly viewed him as a copycat, not a true equal, not a real friend. Chuck never confronted him. He came home from Rome with 2 cracked ribs, a black eye, and the deepest respect for Bruce. He always defended him in interviews. Bruce was ahead of his time. He was my hero. Even after Bruce's tragic death in July 1973, just 1 year later, at only 32 years old, Chuck spoke at memorials and kept the memory alive. He named moves after him, taught Bruce's techniques in his schools, and raised his children to honor the legend. But I lived with Chuck every single day. I saw the quiet sadness in his eyes whenever Bruce's name came up in private. He knew the truth. Bruce had invited him, fought him, used his talent, but deep down, Bruce Lee never really saw Chuck Norris as a true friend or peer. He saw a rival. He saw someone who could challenge his throne as the undisputed king of martial arts. And that silent jealousy, that refusal to fully embrace Chuck as an equal, became the biggest betrayal of my husband's entire career. Chuck carried that wound with grace until the very end. Even on his deathbed in Hawaii on March 19th, 2026, when he whispered for me to tell the truth, I know this was the story he wanted the world to hear last, because it hurt the most. Chuck always looked up to Bruce as his hero, but Bruce never truly saw Chuck as a real friend. That's the secret I promised my husband I would finally reveal. The greatest martial arts legend of all time, and the one man he respected more than anyone, never gave him the respect back. And now, with both of them gone, the world finally deserves to know the full, heartbreaking truth. Chuck never started any of these wars. He never threw the first punch. All my husband ever wanted was to bring the spirit of real martial arts and true justice to people all over the world. Through Walker, Texas Ranger from 1993 to 2001, and every single action film he ever made. Now that he's gone forever after that heartbreaking day in Hawaii on March 19th, 2026, I'm finally keeping the promise I made to him on his deathbed. I just want the world to know the truth. To every single person who ever hated him, I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, please find it in yourselves to forgive. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 names shocked you the most tonight? Who do you think hated Chuck Norris the most? Drop their name in the comments right now. I read every single one. If you want more raw, never-before-told Hollywood secrets, shocking rivalries, and real stories behind the legends, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join the Hollywood Files family today. We're just getting started. Thank you for sitting here with me through all of this. Chuck would have wanted you to know the truth. God bless you, and God bless the memory of my husband.